Imagine you're walking through the hills of New York State. You find a garden of beautiful sunflowers. Behind it, you are surprised to find an unusual temple building. This is the Grafton Peace Pagoda, and I will tell you the story of the Buddha, as the Grafton Peace Pagoda itself tells it. This is not a building you enter. This building is indeed a prayer, built from the hearts of hundreds of volunteers. You can see the Peace Pagoda as it is reflected in the small pond that was built in front of it. It is truly a prayer of beauty. As with many great beings, there are myths and stories around the birth of the Buddha. This relief depicts Queen Maya as she has conceived the Buddha. She dreams of a white elephant entering into her womb. This is the dream of an auspicious event. Something special has happened on the planet Earth. As was the tradition in her time, the queen was traveling to her parents' palace to give birth. This was the custom. But as she passed a flower garden in Lumbini, she reached out to steady herself. A tree lowered its branches to her, and there the Buddha was born through her side in a miraculous birth. It is said that at his birth, the Buddha came out of the womb and took 7 steps, each in one of the directions. He did this to announce his mission to save all sentient beings. The son of a king, he had all special privilege. The wise men had prophesied that Siddhartha Gautama would either be a world conqueror or the savior of the world. His father, being a king, wanted his son to be a world conqueror, so he kept him in the palace grounds and gave him all the pleasures of the world. But when he was 27, he left the palace for a ride in his chariot, and he saw the marks of suffering. Old age, sickness, death, and even life itself. This brought a tremendous change to the Buddha's awareness. In the middle of the night, he returned to the palace. He kissed his wife and child, and he went out, leaving the palace behind to seek enlightenment. The Buddha is shown putting on a beggar's tunic and cutting off his hair. This symbolizes his leaving the material world to seek wisdom. After many years of practicing austerity, living in the forest, living a simple way, the Buddha sits under the Bodhi tree and reaches for enlightenment. This disturbs the forces of Mara, or the devil. He comes to tempt the Buddha. He brings him all the pleasures of the world, all the joys of the world. However, the Buddha is not distracted. Then Mara brings all the fears and demons from the underworld to destroy the Buddha. The Buddha, being enlightened, merely touches his one hand to the ground, and the earth shakes with such force that all the evil demons disperse in fear, and the Buddha's message is made clear: I belong here. The Buddha returns to the forest, and he meets with those he had practiced with before. He gives them the teaching in a deer park that sets the wheel of the Dharma in motion. This is called the turning of the wheel of the Dharma. Dharma meaning truth. The 4 noble truths are: all life is suffering. That suffering is caused by dukkha, or desire. That the way to cease suffering is to cease desire. And the fourth noble truth is the way to conquer suffering, and that is to follow the Buddhist practice on your own, and that is called the Eightfold Path. After many years of teaching and sharing his wisdom, the Buddha has a vision of the unity of all sentient beings, and indeed all life, and he teaches Na Mu Myo Horenge Kyo at the Eagle Spirit Mountain. Na Mu Myo Horenge Kyo. After a long life of practice and teaching, the Buddha lies on his deathbed in Kusangara. His last words, after 80 years, are the following. Life is a river. It is always moving, always changing. Do not hold on to things. Work hard and find your own enlightenment. After his death, the relics of the Buddha are scattered in 8 directions, so his wisdom could be shared with all corners of the world. The Buddha never claimed to be a god, but he did claim to be enlightened, to see the truth of the world, and how to defeat the suffering that is inherent in all life. As he touches his hand to the earth, he brings peace and tranquility into this realm. This we can all benefit from, for the Buddha showed us a path or a way. He is thought of as a savior because of this. He did not claim to be a god. He is a way shower, a pathfinder, and a study of Buddhism will show you a way to bring peace into your life and into your world. The spire on top of the Peace Pagoda represents the steps to enlightenment. The flame on the pinnacle of the spire represents the moment of enlightenment, symbolizing the sun and the moon joining together. This is the exterior of the temple building at the Grafton Peace Pagoda. This is where services are held. The interior shows the altar. There is a picture of Nichidatsu Fuji, who was the founder of Nipponzan Myohoji. And there is also a picture of Mahatma Gandhi, who was a contemporary of his and who worked together with him in the peace movement. This is the ceremonial drum, which you hear drumming in the background, the large drum with the beautiful voice. Here again is the altar with Nichidatsu Fuji's picture, and in front of the altar there is a special small altar where sweet waters will be poured over the statue of the Buddha, commemorating his birth and his great gifts that he has brought to the world. This is one of 3 major ceremonies that take place at the Grafton Peace Pagoda. There is prayer in the morning and in the evening, so sunrise and sunset. This plaque commemorates Hank Hazelton, who donated this property for the Peace Pagoda to Nipponzan Myohoji. This presentation would not be complete without me sharing one of my favorite photos of myself and Jun Yasuda, who is the Japanese Buddhist nun who is responsible for the Peace Pagoda, for founding it and for maintaining it. And I hope at some time you will have the opportunity to visit it. It is a wonderful place with wonderful people, and it is dedicated to peace. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about me, you can visit my website, ProfessorAstrology.com. Namimya Orenke Kyo.